Number one, the seasons and the weather. In Powder Springs, we have all 4 seasons, so it's very distinct, and I like them all really, but probably my 2 favorite are spring and fall. But in the spring, one reason I like the spring a lot, it's the kind of weather here in Powder Springs, generally speaking. You can open your window in the evening. Sometimes you can leave it open all day. If you have a screened-in porch door or screened-in door to your home, then you can probably leave the main door open and so it's pretty mild temperatures all spring. Great for being outside with yard work, kids sports, just wonderful spring weather here in Powder Springs, Georgia. So, and then that leads me to fall. Fall's great too. They're kind of similar in that great for cookouts, sporting events, picnics, just anything that you'd want to do outdoors. Beautiful fall weather here in Powder Springs. You can go just a little bit north of here and see some amazing colors with the foothills of Georgia. I'm talking like 30 minutes north. So at the beginning of about, well, you can see some great colors here in Powder Springs, but just a little ways north, you know, foothills of the mountains is where you're starting getting into a little bit of rolling country and just beautiful, beautiful colors. So the summers are great here because you can do whatever you like. They are hot because we are in hot Atlanta, so or just outside of hot Atlanta. So it does get hot, very hot here, but you know, that's great. Most of the neighborhoods in Powder Springs have pools, and the ones that don't, you know, a lot of the individual homes have pools. So great for hanging out at the pool in the middle of the day. Some of them have water slides and fountains and things like that. So the summers are hot, but they're not too terribly hot in the morning and in the evening, and it's still great for cookouts. And also Six Flags Whitewater is a great activity that's very close to Powder Springs that a lot of people in Powder Springs can do in the summer. And then the winter. So winter is not bad at all. If you love snow, you know, Powder Springs would not be a fit for you. We get about a ½ inch every few years. Every now and then we might get inches, like 2 or 3, and then maybe twice in the last 20 years that I can remember, maybe more than 3 or 4 inches. We've had a big snow here probably 6-7 years ago. And it was more like 6 inches or so, and everything was frozen over. But generally speaking, we're talking about a light dusting or a ½ inch or an inch in Powder Springs, Georgia. So if you love snow, you know, you might see it once, twice a year. Sometimes there'll be some flurries without any sticking. But the weather is, generally speaking, great in Powder Springs. Love all 4 seasons. The only con really is the pollen, and the summer can be pretty hot and humid. Number 2, locations. So Powder Springs, Georgia is about 30-40 minutes from Atlanta, depends on what time of day and when you go down there. But it's within about 30-ish minutes of anything and everything that you would need. So from Atlanta to the foothills, beginning foothills of the mountains, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, which is an international airport, Falcons games, which is football, Braves baseball, we have soccer, have a farm hockey team, lacrosse, just anything that you'd want to do, and most of that you can find in Atlanta. Great also for within Powder Springs is eating. So if you're a foodie, some great restaurants in Powder Springs, and then within 30 minutes of Powder Springs, pretty much anything and everything that you'd want. Close to major highways, you know, within 30 minutes to several different major highways, less than 30 minutes to 2 major hospitals, malls, 2 malls, big malls within about 30 minutes, national parks, Six Flags over Georgia. So all of these things, anything and everything you'd want to do is either in Powder Springs or super close to Powder Springs. So one of the big pros is location, and as far as cons go of the location, not a lot to that. Unless you want big sprawling acreage, there's a little bit of that in Powder Springs and higher price points. You might get 5, 10, 20 acres on a home. But generally speaking, like today I'm in a new neighborhood, and these are about ½ acre lots, and the houses are about 600 to 1.1 million. And that's pretty common, is an acre or less. If it's new construction, generally less. But big pros for Powder Springs is the location. So let's get to number 3. Number 3 is the schools. So in Powder Springs, we have some high-rated public schools. So I like using greatschools.org as a website. I like that because that site is a combination of parents, students, just anyone can add their input to the site, so you can get a good idea of, you know, mixed reviews, or if the reviews, what you think of each review. So that's a great site. But top-rated schools, right now in Powder Springs, we have a 9 two nines, and these are schools that you're in, high schools, that if your kids were living in Powder Springs, they could go to. Some of the schools are just outside of Powder Springs, but still, if you live in Powder Springs, the school district. Generally speaking, we're usually at about a 7 on one of the schools and 2 9s for the others. High-rated public schools, generally speaking. Also, we have some great choices for private schools, charter schools nearby. And another thing about the schools is they're not super old school buildings. So mostly modern or updated, not like hundreds of years old. Powder Springs is pretty old, but the schools here are not. And the schools have been updated. We've added a few new schools over the last couple of 10 years or so. And then one of the older high schools received about $30 million about 20 years ago, and they just keep adding buildings. It's more like a small college campus than a high school, and that's McEachern High School. So if you want more information, or if you want to reach out to me on more information on the schools, or to dig a little deeper, just reach out to me. My contact information is below. Happy to talk to you about the schools. My kids grew up in Powder Springs and going to school there. So really good choices as far as high schools, middle school, where you live. There is one middle school that has a kind of a lower ranking, so reach out to me if you want more information on that. But schools are a big plus. And any cons to the schools? Generally speaking, not, just because of all the different choices. Number 4 is the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. So that's about 30-40 minutes from Powder Springs. It's an international airport, so one of the big pros to that is you can usually get a direct flight. So not a lot of layover flights. If you choose not to have one, you wouldn't have to have one. So anywhere that you'd want to go, great for getting a flight. It's not very far at all from Powder Springs. Or as a matter of fact, a lot of pilots live in Powder Springs because it's just far enough out to where you can have some great schools, some good community life, good suburbs, without, it's not super close to the airport with planes flying over, but it's close enough to where it's not a bad commute at all. We don't have to go through the city. You can kind of skirt around the side and shoot a little bit south and to get to the airport. So the pros are that it's close by and direct flights. The cons are it's pretty far to walk. So once you park there, I usually leave about 20, maybe 30 minutes to park, to walk into the airport and to get my ticket printed out, or if I don't have that already, and then to get into the line to get through the checkpoint line. You can get around that if you don't park at the airport with parking rides, but it's still going to be about the same amount of time because you park off of the airport property, you park at a site, and they give you a ride to the airport. And a little bit, it's about as convenient really because you don't have to walk very far. They just drop you off at the front door, but it takes about the same amount of time because you have to park, get in their vehicle to get to the airport. And then another con is long security check-ins. It is a big international airport. I think one of the busiest, if not the busiest airport in the world from time to time. And it takes a while to get through the line. Usually lately it's taken me 30 minutes to an hour to get through the checkpoint lines, and then I still have to walk to get onto the little train within the airport that's going to take me to the exact terminal that I go to. So that is number 4. Let's look at number 5. Number 5 is the traffic. So one of the pros to the traffic is, well, there's not a lot of pros, but we do have a lot of side streets. And so a lot of times if there's construction or heavy traffic, sometimes you can go through back roads to get to where you need to go. So we do have a lot of that here, unless you're just on the highway. Well, even if you're on the highway, you can get off at different exits to get to where you're going. So that's the pros, is we have some pretty good side streets, usually more than 1 or 2 ways to get to where you're going. And some of the cons is the traffic's not good. Not a lot of public transportation. Matter of fact, in Powder Springs, there's not any. The county that Powder Springs is in, we have a Cobb County Transit System, which is a busing system that has public transportation. Also, if you live in Powder Springs, you're not going to walk to work. So that's more like Smyrna, if not downtown Atlanta, that we have some of those options. So if that's something you're interested to reach out to me, I can get you close to Powder Springs, but can't think of anywhere in Powder Springs that you would live and walk to work, and continuous road construction. So that's kind of a good thing, right? Because it helps us get to where we're going a little bit quicker. But also, from time to time, that makes the situation a little bit worse if some of the lanes are blocked or they have 1 lane instead of 2 due to construction on the road. So that's number 5. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 is the work. So it's Powder Springs is great in that pretty much anything that you would do work-wise is near Powder Springs. With Atlanta being so close, metropolitan Atlanta being so close, I mean, anything from lots of different corporations, the film industry, the music industry, lots and lots of healthcare, lots of construction opportunities, hospitality, tons of educational opportunities. I believe Cobb County, where Powder Springs is, and I think that's one of the biggest employers of the county, if not the biggest. Sports industry, etc. So whatever you do work-wise, if it's not in Powder Springs, it's probably super close, which makes Powder Springs a great option for a lot of people and a lot of families looking to make a move here, because you're very close to Atlanta, and generally speaking, you're very close to pretty much any and all work opportunities. So that's number 6. Let's get to my favorite, number 7. Number 7, one thing, I love going to the beach, and even though Powder Springs is nowhere near an ocean, it's also not a terrible drive to an ocean for a family vacation. So Panama City is about 5 hours away from Powder Springs. Depends on who you ride with and how you drive and how big your family is, how many times you have to stop. But generally speaking, you can get there in about 5 hours. Also Hilton Head, South Carolina. Hilton Head Island in South Carolina is about 4.5, 5 hours. So that's about as long as it would probably take me to fly to Panama City to go from door to door. So if I went from my home to the airport with the waiting and getting there ahead of time, getting on the plane, getting off the plane, getting an Uber, and getting to my vacation spot, it would probably take darn close to about the same amount of time as it would to drive there. So that's one of the, I look at that as a pro, because I can hop in the car in about a half a day, you know, knock out a few calls and business calls, and then be at the beach. So friendly as far as that goes. Also, a pretty cool thing about Powder Springs is we're within about 30 minutes to 2 really good beaches that are on lakes. So Altoona has a beach, White Sands. It is a lake, but there is a beach there that we can go to and be there in about 30 minutes from our home. It's probably a little bit farther than that, maybe 30, 45 minutes to Lake Lanier Beach, but they have a big water park there, and that's just a great, another lake beach. Also, you can go about an hour south, and Callaway Gardens has a beautiful lake and beach. These lakes are also great for boating, fishing, skiing, so you can rent a boat and get out on the lake that way. So big lakes with beaches. So if you don't want to take the 4 plus 5 hours-ish drive to an ocean, you can go to some nice lake beaches here close to Powder Springs, Georgia. So love going to the beach myself, and you know, happy that I can hop in the car and be there in about a half day, leave early in the morning and get there for a late breakfast or by lunchtime. And that's number 7. So now let's talk about a couple of the pro tips and the bonuses. Okay, so just some of the bonuses that I didn't think probably were worthy of a pros and cons, but are Braves games. So I'm a baseball guy, I love sports, and Braves Stadium has great restaurants in what's called the Battery, and that's about 15-ish, maybe 20, 30 minutes at the most from any spot in Powder Springs, Georgia. You don't have to go into downtown Atlanta, so we love that the Braves are in the burbs, and also just great for going out and having a meal. It's a great place. Powder Springs is a great place for sports lovers. Any sport that you like to watch or that your kids will be involved in, you're super close to it by being in Powder Springs. With top-rated travel baseball, some people from around the country actually move to Cobb County for East Cobb travel baseball opportunities for their kids if they're going to go and play higher level baseball. Also, you can go about 30 minutes north of Powder Springs, Emerson, Georgia, and there we have a big cheerleading complex, massive baseball complex, a little tiny man-made lake where we have a pulley for skiing and wakeboarding, and some nice restaurants to eat at there as well. You know, also being in South, there's lots and lots of churches in Powder Springs, Georgia. So anything and everything that you'd want to have there is super close. Big churches, little churches, and everything in between. You know, great restaurants. So if you're a foodie, there are wonderful restaurants, all kinds of food in Powder Springs and super close to Powder Springs. And also, I guess I'll end with this. Great Southern hospitality. So we are here in the South, and we are just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So generally speaking, super friendly people and nice southern hospitality. So I'm Dan Hillsman. I love helping people make their move. I've been real estate licensed. I've been licensed a long time, so I'm happy to help you answer any questions you may have about your move to Powder Springs, Georgia, or surrounding areas. I do have a big team that's actually in different states as well, so if you need help or want information on a certain city outside of Powder Springs or Georgia, just let me know with that. You can reach me with my contact information below. However you want to get a hold of me, I got your back when making a move to Powder Springs, Georgia, surrounding areas, or just anywhere else you'd like to contact me to talk about. Hope you have a great day. Okay, just a little side note after the video. I am here in a new neighborhood in Powder Springs, and they still have a lot of lots available. So 6s to about 1.2 million. These lots here back up to a national park, or not a national park, a county park, and with any activity you'd want. The neighborhood here has all the amenities that you'd want to have with the clubhouse, the pool. Great community, actually it's community of the year. So if you want more information on that, just reach out to me. Happy to help guide you to the right neighborhood or right area that you may like. Or if you want more information on this neighborhood, you do want to reach out to me. If you saw one of my last videos, you know, Powder Springs is a little tricky with the train system running to it. So you wouldn't want to be at looking at a home and then all of a sudden hear something rumbling softly coming down the tracks in the woods and be surprised by that. So not a lot of that, but there is a train track that runs near Powder Springs. And like I said, great community here with big park that you probably might have seen in some of my other videos. But happy to help you that any way I can. Just love shooting videos outside. Wanted to come to this new neighborhood today to shoot this video. And let me know if I can be of any help to you.